Good morning, Bravo bosses, and welcome to I Take Bravo Very Seriously with me, your host, Dana. I am very excited to tell you that today I had the interview of a lifetime. You may not know him by name, but you definitely know him by face. He's Ariana Madix's best friend, confidant, and has been a friend of the cast of Vanderpump Rules for over a decade. You may have heard him on The Vile Files in June 2023 talking about Scandal. He also lived with Ariana in New York while she was in Chicago on Broadway. In light of the recent news that Vanderpump Rules with the current cast is not continuing in favor of a reboot with a whole new cast, he was finally able to spill all the tea. I hope you enjoy my interview with Brad Kearns. Let's get into it. Brad Kearns, welcome to I Take Bravo Very Seriously.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I am so excited to have you here. You've been so busy, so thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know you've been doing a million things. You've been at the Macy's parade. You were just all over New York. You had a
Yeah.
headache. You are just like the busiest guy in the world. So I do appreciate you taking the time. And for those
Yeah.
who don't know exactly who you are, maybe people know you best as Ariana Madix's best friend and confidant. You are
Yeah.
a huge fashionista in New York, and that's probably how people also know you, but I just wanted to describe you in that way because that is the best description I can give. You are super tall, bleach blonde hair, and so those
Yep.
people who don't know you by name definitely know you by face and by glasses, I would say. So
Oh
does
yeah.
that sum up Brad Kearns in a
I
nutshell?
feel that's a great intro. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you could probably go on forever, but that's a great summation.
Amazing. Well, how has your last week been in New York? Because I know you've just been like going crazy, doing tons of
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, last week was jam-packed between events. Ariana was in town. She was
Mhm.
obviously performing in the Macy's Day Parade, so we got to go to that. I did a Friendsgiving and just like really enjoyed my first November here in New York.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to start with you explaining a little bit to the people about how you know the Vanderpump Rules crew. And I know you've explained this on a couple of interviews here and there but for the people in the back who don't know you, please tell
Yeah.
us how you know those people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy. I was pulling into this was 2011. I was pulling into Coachella with one of my best friends. And that day, for some reason, we decided to take the car in. I think we were going to leave a little early for an event. And we drove in and parked in VIP parking. And we pulled up. And, I didn't know them at the time, but we pulled up next to Tom, Jack, Stassi, Katie, and Kristen.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And they were like getting their stuff ready, get out of the car to go into the festival. And we got out of the car, and I remember Stassi mentioned, she's like, "I love your shirt." I had this like shirt with like Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake on it and their denim outfits. It was like really random. And we all just like started talking, said, "Nice to meet you," and went on my way. And then about a week later, I was out at dinner, and Tom Sandoval was at the same restaurant that I was. And we saw each other, and he's like, "I remember you. We met you at Coachella." And literally, he invited me out to a performance that Kristen was coming to as well. He was with
Mhm.
Kristen at the time. And I went to the show and became friends with them. And then they told me that they were doing this reality show, and it just kind of all spiraled from there. So
That's pretty crazy. So Tom Sandoval was technically like your first friend in the group, would you say?
yeah, in that group, it was Tom and Kristen for sure.
Hmm.
Kristen and I became, well, I mean, at the time, Tom and Kristen and I both became really good friends. And then I met Sheena from there. And then as years went on, as people layered in, I would meet them as well.
Wow. Well, I want to get into a little bit more about Brad before we get back into Vanderpump Rules. So tell us a
Sure.
little bit about where you're from and your family and just, what you did growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born in Fargo, North Dakota. So I
Oh.
don't know if you've met anyone from North Dakota, but now you have.
Wait, can you do an accent?
It's funny. My friends make fun of me when I say the word bag, like a paper bag or a
Oh, that
plastic bag. They think I'm saying beg, but
right.
I'm saying bag. So I don't know. It's
I hear
funny,
it.
but I get it in like my long A's, O's, and E's. But I
Hmm.
lost it because even though I grew up in North Dakota, my dad's side of the family was East Coast.
Hmm.
So we had like a good balance of that. And I think my time in North Dakota, I loved growing up there. I have a huge family. I have eight siblings.
Oh, wow.
I'm one of eight. And the minute I hit high school graduation, though, I was like, I'm gone. So I got out of there, moved around a little bit in the Midwest, and then I landed in Los Angeles, and I was there for about 14 and a half years.
Wow. And so
Yeah.
when you
So
decided to leave North Dakota, I mean, is that a typical thing in North Dakota? Do most people stay and like marry a townie, or do most people take off?
yeah, I feel like a smaller percentage takes off, and if we do take off, like, people kind of stick to that zone or that area. I think a lot of my friends that wanted to go to a bigger city ended up going to Minneapolis,
Hmm.
some went down to Chicago, so I feel like that's, like, the typical pattern unless you just have a dream to get out of there and go to a coast. So I did. I originally was going to go to New York, but my dad had family out here, and I wanted to kind of try something that I didn't have a necessarily safety net. So
Right.
I picked LA, and I moved out there not knowing a single person.
Wow. And so when you said people sort of move out to LA on a dream, did you have a dream when you moved there, or was there a particular reason you picked LA?
It's funny because I always wanted to do like entertainment hosting,
Oh.
like red carpet or like e-news, but I don't think I actually went out there for that. I wanted to be in a bigger city. Growing
Hmm.
up, all of my family we're all very creative, we're all very energetic, and I remember from like seventh grade on, my friends' parents would always be like, "Where are you going to college? We know you're not staying around here. Like, are you going to go to a coast? Are you going to go to a bigger city?" I just feel like I have the energy for a bigger city.
Hmm.
I like to keep busy. I like options. So I just wanted to try something new, and LA is what I picked at the time.
So now you're in New York, and before your move to New York, did you expect LA to be your forever home?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, it was really funny because my close friends we called me the mayor of LA. I loved LA. Anytime someone had something bad to say about it, I was right there to smack it down. I thought I would be there forever. I think
Hmm.
6 months before moving here, if you would have told me you're going to be in New York, I would have said, I have no reason. Like, I love New York, but I had no reason. And then Ariana had asked me, I wasn't working at the time. So
Hmm.
she was like, why don't you come to New York and get away from LA for a minute? Come for a couple weeks or a month when I get set up for Broadway. I'm really close with her animals as well. Like, I take care of Maya all the time in LA, and I love that dog. So I was like, yeah, I'll come for a couple weeks. Came for a couple weeks, and then it was like, do you want to stay for a month? It'd be like nice to have you here. And I'm like, yeah. So I stayed for a month, and then things just like started falling in place. It was kind of crazy. Some opportunities with my agent started to fall in place a little bit more in New York. I had a job opportunity like kind of handed to me. I met a fan of Bravo at a bar randomly, and she had a connection to an apartment in Soho.
Oh, I heard about
So
that.
like
Yeah.
everything just kind of like started lining up, and it was crazy because the day we flew in on Christmas Eve.
Mm.
We had a car pick us up, and we went to the place that Ariana got for being in the show. And as we were driving there and driving through the city, I think I knew it right then and there. I was like, I'm gonna fall in love with New York, and I think I'm gonna move here. And it did not take long. And then, like I said, everything just fell into place. It was like all these things were telling me yes. And so I just decided to take the plunge and do it.
I love that. Well, what's
Yeah.
been your favorite part about living in New York so far? It's been
Ooh.
almost a year now, right?
Yeah, it'll be a year on Christmas Eve. So, I think like I said before, my I just like to be busy, or I like to have the option.
Hmm.
And I feel like convenience in combination with everything that's going on in the city just really makes it so easy to live here. I
Hmm.
think a lot of times people get overwhelmed by New York City. But for me, I kind of get calm in chaos, if that makes
I
sense.
like
It's
that.
very soothing for me, but I think it's also the way I was raised. I mean, I was fortunate enough to grow up in big houses, but I
Hmm.
had, at times 8 to 10 people living in there.
Right.
So there's so many things going on. All of us were in different activities from like sports to theater. And I think that just because we grew up in a household where it was like planned organization because of chaos, I just thrive better in that. So everything that's been going on in New York, it just feels like at home to me.
Yeah.
Again, the convenience of like I live in Soho, I can walk anywhere or I can jump on a quick train. You can get to the other side of town in 20, 25 minutes. And LA, I got so tired of driving. And I started to see these things when I got here. So I
Hmm.
think that's really what contributed to that. But also, everyone in New York is insanely friendly.
Really?
Yeah, and I feel
Oh,
like it, you don't really hear that often.
no.
But I moved here. I knew one person that lives over in Brooklyn, and obviously Dan, Ariana's boyfriend, lives here, and I know people that live in like New Jersey and around the area. But since I've been here, people are just so welcoming and
Mhm.
engaging, and it's made it so easy to be here. The transition was so easy.
Well, you definitely don't regret it. That was going to be one of my questions. So you definitely don't
No.
regret it. Well, is there anything that you do miss about living in LA?
I think one thing I loved about LA, I mean, I was there for almost 15 years.
Right.
I had the most amazing circle of people around me. And I think, I've started to rebuild that here. I've met so many great people out here. But I think if I missed one thing about that area, it's probably some of the people.
Mhm.
But, it's funny, like, there's certain things I loved or restaurants that I loved, but the food out here is amazing. So, I think if I went back, there's probably like a list of a couple of places that I would pop into with some friends. But overall, again, not to say anything bad about LA, but New York has proven to take my heart. So
I totally understand that about the convenience. I live in Toronto, which is also similar in terms of like a busy city, and the convenience of just being able to run across the street to get like toilet paper or paper towel or whatever else you might need, batteries that
yeah,
someone might need, whatever else
yeah,
you need is just right there. But I also have a car, which helps me get out of the city as well. So I totally understand the best of both worlds, where LA, you got the bigger space, but it can be a little less convenient. And then you've got New
yeah,
York where everything is at your fingertips.
yep, exactly.
Totally. Well, those of you who follow Brad on Instagram know that he has fierce fashion. It's bold, it's eccentric, which I love. So I am
Thank you.
just curious, where did you get your inspiration for all of your fierce looks?
It's funny because I grew up working in like fashion retail, and it's so funny because when people talk to me, they ask me a lot of time, like, who's your inspiration? Or, what influencers or celebrities do you follow for their clothing style? And I'll be honest with you, I kind of do the opposite. For me, I love to go online and just like spend an hour looking through a company's website and finding the things that maybe people wouldn't typically buy. Or, I like to look different than everybody else. And granted, I'm a big fan of wearing all black too. So you can kind of blend with other people. But I always look for like fun pieces. I think the thing is too, is like you said, I'm 6'4", I'm bleach blonde. It's like I can wear some like fun things and get away with it. But yeah, I don't know if I necessarily have like an inspiration or a source that I look to, but I kind of just like search around what everybody's looking at in the moment and pull pieces from there.
Totally. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to someone who wants to get into fashion?
I would say be yourself. I know that's so cliche, but in the fashion world, and you see it more in New York because the fashion, like my style hasn't changed that much, but I felt like what separated me in LA was that I always kind of did my own thing. And LA is very trend based.
Hmm.
So I feel like the majority of the people follow it. And then you have people that stand out and do their own thing. New
Hmm.
York, everybody puts together whatever they want to wear and they walk around and they own it. And that's what I think really drives like the coolness factor.
Hmm.
So anytime anybody's ever asked me, I'm like, take a risk. Like, don't just get something because this is what's trending right now or this is that. Like, you can get those pieces. I definitely have them too, but find things that like really speak to your own personal style and wear it with confidence because that's when people will look at you and say, like, they know what they're doing or they know how to put an outfit together and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, fake it till you make it, right?
yeah.
Exactly. So I know you aren't public about what you do for work, but how are you able to keep your world separate when you're a public figure?
It's challenging. I don't talk about my work just because, I mean, I'll generalize it, but I never really talk about where I work. Just from a perspective of in my professional world, I want to make sure that that's the first and foremost priority. But in my field, I sometimes am customer facing and I work with the public, so people will find me. And
Hmm.
I'm surprised actually. Like my current job hasn't kind of been leaked as of yet, but people see me all the time, and
Hmm.
it's really funny because this job that I took here in New York is like a corporate company job, and a lot of the people throughout the interview process were Bravo fans.
Really?
So like I would sit down and they were like, I don't want to be unprofessional, but like I already know who you are, and
That's
so
so
it's like
funny.
it was kind of fun. But it's really interesting. Like if I'm, in the environment where I'm working with customers, sometimes people will come in and like they won't say anything, but at the very end they'll be like, can I have a picture or like
Really?
say hi to Ariana for me or so it's fun. And I haven't had any like bad scenarios, but I like to just keep my professional life professional and social media is all about fun, right? So
Well,
I showcase all the fun things I do.
oh, speaking of which, you have these pants. I'm sure you know which pants they are. They are black and they're skeleton shape on them.
Yes.
So my sister's a chiropractor and she has to know where you got those pants. She's dying to
Oh,
know.
well, those are okay. So you know what? I'll send you a link if they
Okay.
still have them. So they were made by a couple different brands. So Ami made them,
Mhm.
and then like ASOS made like a dupe of them. And I think I'll double check, but I can send you links. But Ami is where originally I got them as a gift, and then I saw them on like ASOS.
Okay, that's really cool. My sister
Yeah.
like just loves skeleton everything
Oh
because
yeah.
it's her job. But can you tell us a little bit about Bradtober? For those of
Yeah.
us who don't know what Bradtober is, and I know what it is, but I'm gonna let you tell us.
It is the most wonderful time of year.
It is.
Actually, the Scorpio in me, every year I'm like,
Me
I
too.
get so excited, and then I hit a phase where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then I snap back out of it. But my friends always laugh at me. But Bradtober has been a creation probably 16, 17 years in the works.
Wow.
Yeah, so it has become a little bit more like visible to the public because of social media and whatnot. But it's just like a month long celebration in October for my birthday. And I did it because a long time ago, I adapt very well into different groups of people. So I have a lot of different groups of friends. And as you've gotten older, like those mesh more a little bit. But I originally did it because I would have like smaller little fun birthday dinners or like go to a concert with a certain group of friends or like a family event. And it just turned into Bradtober because we celebrated from October 1st to October 31st. So it's fun because I love birthdays. My parents did an amazing job growing up of making us feel special on our birthdays, especially me because I have a sister on October 28th, a sister
Mhm.
on October 29th, and on October 30th.
And I have
So
a friend on November 1st, by the way.
November 1st,
Yeah.
hey, there we go. I love it. But my families would make sure to separate our birthday parties. We all had our own cakes. We all had like a special theme. So I think because of the way I was raised, I just always fell in love with celebrating my own birthday. But my friends' birthdays are super important to me too.
Mhm.
But
Most
that's kind of how
definitely.
Brad Tabor came about. And then several years ago, one of my friends was like, let's make merch and wear merch. And so year after year, I make merch. And I do it for breast cancer awareness and research.
Oh,
So
okay.
anything that is purchased through it, and sometimes people don't know that. They think like, oh, it's just
I
someone
didn't know
making
that.
merch again to make a buck. But I actually donate all proceeds, just because it's nice to like give back. And for me, it's like I don't know. I used to laugh. I was like, does someone really want to wear my face on a T-shirt? Like this is a joke, but people buy them, and then I donated. So it's a cool thing.
I really love that. That is so funny and just a fun way to celebrate yourself and make fun of yourself as well. I
Yeah,
love it. It's so cute.
exactly.
Well, you mentioned that you had come with Ariana to New York to support her through Broadway, and I just want to know what that experience was like. Obviously, prior to you knowing that you were moving there, I'm just more curious about what it was like for you to support her through that transition and through her Broadway experience.
Yeah, well, I have to say, like, at sometimes it was a pinch me moment because I think, when you have a great friend in life, everybody wants to do the most they can to support them. And
Hmm.
obviously, coming off of what happened, I think my priorities were to make sure that I was there for my friend.
Hmm.
And the cool part about it is because of my transition with my career in life, I had a lot of time. So it started at Dancing with the Stars. I was there every
Right.
single week with her, just like spending time with her. But coming out here on Broadway, I think because I know her and I know her story of growing up in Florida and her dream of being on Broadway and how she got to New York and it brought her to LA and now this ultimately led her back to Broadway. It's not very often that you get to spend time with a friend or a family member that goes through that. And
Hmm.
so to be out here and support her, like the fact that she wanted me to do that and the fact that I could was absolutely amazing. Like it's something that I'll remember for my entire life. We were talking about it the other day, and it's just like the timing of everything. It worked out, and it was truly amazing to be out here and see her like continue on her dream.
Well, how many times did you end up seeing Chicago?
I lost count.
Really?
But I think Dan and I were talking about this the other day because we were trying to one up each other. But I think the first run, I was there just over like almost 30 shows.
Wow.
And then when she came back for the other run, I was there about 5 or 6 because it was a shorter run.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I used to joke with I got to meet all of her cast and
Right.
coworkers, and got to know them well too. And they'd always joke with me, and they'd be like, "We play Where's Waldo when you're in the audience, and see who finds you first. And if we ever need an understudy to come on immediately, we know you know all the parts." So,
You probably do. You probably know the entire thing off by
oh
heart
yeah,
by
my
now.
friends by the end of it, the friends that I would like bring, because a lot of people would come in and see it, they would at the end of the show they'd be like, "You know that the entire show you're like singing the move and doing all the choreography like slowly," and I'm like, "Really?"
Wow.
They're like, "Yeah."
That's
It's
so
just
cute.
you get used to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned that as a friend and as a best friend, we all want to do the most that we can for our best friends. But given everything that Ariana's been through and how it was so public, was there any part of it for you that you felt was like a bit of a burden to be a part of her life during such a chaotic time in her life?
Honestly, no. And I think that's what makes our friendship such a great friendship. I grew up in their relationship, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, at the end of the day, I met Ariana when Tom and Ariana started dating, so those 2 were 2 of my best friends through that entire journey, and so to see someone go through what they did, being there to support her no matter what was being said in the public eye or what she was going through, like, I just think it's so important to do as a friend.
Right.
So, I definitely didn't feel a burden.
Hmm.
Um, there was, an interesting period of time because it wasn't a burden because of Ariana, but I think when we found out what happened, I had to like mourn the loss of 2 friends, and ultimately kind of 3, 4 when it started to like propel and figure out who was involved and so on and so forth. And I think like that was a difficult time for me, but what I focused on right away, and I think I posted it the day the world found out, I said, my job right now is to be Ariana's friend, and I will get through my emotions on my time, but I just need to prioritize making sure she's okay right now. And I think like separating that was important.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you are best friends with her, but we don't really get to know you on the show. Like we see you there, but we don't really get to know you. So, how would you describe the kind of friend that you are to Ariana, or even just the kind of friend you are in general?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think of myself, and I think my friends would describe me the same way, as just someone who's very connected and thoughtful. Engagement, like
Hmm.
if the 7 love languages, like words of affirmation and quality time are very important to me. Like if I can't be around someone, I want to make sure that I'm still communicating and upholding that friendship. And so especially now that I'm in New York and she was off, in Fiji hosting a show, but she's home based in LA,
Hmm.
like that was a change for our friendship,
Hmm.
but it's stronger than ever. I mean, we get so excited to see each other. Like she was here before this week for the parade, she was here a week before. And we went to a concert with Dan. We did a lot of fun stuff. Like I let them have their date time, of course, but we
Third
got to see
wheel.
each other a good amount. And we have this friendship where like maybe we might not talk for like 3 days, but then we pick it up real quick. Like
Hmm.
we stay in communication. We send each other funny TikToks and just talk about everything that's going on. So
Yeah.
it's been nice.
I also feel like it's just a different time, even if you live across the country with phones. I mean, we've always had phones, but with like FaceTime, it doesn't really
Yeah.
feel that different. I mean, I have a lot of friends in the US and we FaceTime all the time, we podcast
Yeah.
together. It doesn't feel like, I haven't seen you in real life in however long.
Yeah. And I think even it's a testament with my other friendships
Hmm.
from LA too. Like my move was abrupt. I mean, I was out here, decided to move. I went back to LA and packed for 5 days and moved back. Like my friends were like, going away party. And I'm like, come give me a hug. Like, I'll see you. It's not a
Yeah,
goodbye. And I think it's been a true testament that my closest circle out there, we still are talking every day and we're active in each other's lives, even if we're not in the same city. So I
right.
totally agree.
Okay, BBs, I want to take a minute to talk to you about fungies. Fungies is the brand that's making mushrooms mainstream by transforming wellness into something fun, delicious, and accessible for everyone. With their range of functional mushroom gummies, Fungies is helping people naturally improve their focus, energy, immune health, relaxation, and even beauty from within. Their gummies are gelatin free, vegan friendly, and made with clean, natural ingredients. They are free from artificial dyes and junk you don't want, making them perfect for the entire family. They also taste pretty great. So there are four different kinds of gummies, and my fave so far is the Lion's Mane mushroom gummies. These gummies are the perfect blend of taste and effectiveness designed to help focus, memory, a healthy mood, and overall brain health. So I've tried these gummies before work, and I have to tell you, I feel like I can concentrate and I can focus better on the task at hand. Ready to give your brain a boost? You can find these yummy gummies in the vitamin section at your local Walmart for less than $10 or conveniently shop on their website, eatfungies.com. Enjoy free shipping and 20% off with code Dana. That's eatfungies.com. So as I mentioned, you are on the show. We do see you on Vanderpump Rules in the background. But what I'm curious about is whether you've ever been asked to be on the show.
Yeah, so it started with my very first experience. So back on season 2, when Tom and Kristen were on the verge of breaking up, and they had that conversation with Stassi, which kind of solidified the end of season 2. Kristen and I had grown very close over that year and a half prior, and based off of what happened and the situation that she was in, a lot of the cast weren't very close with her anymore.
Right,
And so season 3 was the season. They interviewed a lot of people to bring on people that are actually truly active in the main cast's lives.
right.
So myself, James, if you remember Rachel,
Rachel
who's
O'Brien,
a
right?
friend with Kristen, and Carmen
Right.
ended up being 4 of us that kind of like
Hmm.
joined filming more often. And through the course of the run of the show, which sounds weird to say that now, but the course of the run of the show, I had meetings, there were talks, but I really enjoyed the way I did it. I would be at the big events. I'd be there during some difficult times, but and no offense to my good friends on the show, but I didn't do it in a way where it would destroy my life either.
Hmm.
So
For sure.
I liked doing it the way I did. I would get call times, I would get mic'd up. The tricky part is like when you are not focused on being a primary on the show, a lot of times they'll cut your dialogue. So there was a lot of things. I hosted a big murder mystery dinner at my house
Really?
one season, and almost the entire cast was there. We were in costume. We had fun, and there was so many times, and I mean this very respectfully towards Bravo as well, but we would have so much fun. And a lot of times those things don't make the show. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
because who turns on the TV to just watch someone enjoying their life every single day, right? Like,
Boring.
yeah, it's like, oh, great, you're having another great day. Like, you know what I mean? People watch it to escape. So we used to joke like, oh, this will never make it because we're having the best time ever,
Right.
and then it didn't make it. So
Well, can you tell us if there was any sort of agreement with you in the show in terms of whether you decided to film or not, or just how did that play out?
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the show would give me call times for
Hmm.
certain scenarios, because that's how the shows worked, because it's not a 24-hour day thing.
Right.
So they would give me call times, and if I wanted to take part, I absolutely could, and if I didn't want to, I didn't have to.
Was there any times that you refused to film?
Yeah,
Oh.
season 8, I actually never went around cameras at all.
Mm.
It was just kind of a personal choice based off of some things that were happening in an extended friend group. And I think the thing is too, I'm sure people see it, but there's always people that come around a reality show that really quickly want to like jump in front of the camera. And I felt like that started to happen a little bit more. So I withdrew myself because I was like, I don't want to be around these people that I truly am not friends with. No, I'm not talking like main cast, but there was extra people that, would want to cause drama or get involved just to get some camera time. And I decided that on season 8, I was not going to go around anymore. So
Do you mean like extra people or like because season 8 was we did get some new cast members. So are you referring to some of those new cast members or are you referring to just like, the people who were playing baseball that season?
no, actually, like Dana, I think Dana's
Oh,
first season was season 8. I love
right.
Dana. Dana and I are good friends. yeah, no, nothing about new cast members. Actually, I loved Brett and
Mhm,
Max. Like we were all friends and we are still friends to this day. But
mhm.
yeah, it's like extra, like, because the thing is like people in the city will find out where people are filming, or of course, or like if you just stumble into a restaurant and someone's filming there and they can't like actively get on camera. Like, they have to be stay out of that area. But there are people that like once you break into the friend group and then production kind of meets you, like you can come. So
Mhm.
it's it was interesting because some people like could get in that way. And I just decided like my ultimate goal was not to be a reality TV personality. So
No?
for me, it was just like, you know what? I can remove myself from this, and these are my friends still.
Right,
So, I'll see them when the cameras are down.
right. Well,
Yeah.
when you were filming, as somebody who films, are you required to sign any kind of confidentiality agreement or like NDA or anything like that?
No, depending on like if you're paid or not and things like that, you have to sign like a release
Hmm.
if you're not being paid. So it's just like they'd be able to use your audio or video on camera if you're
Hmm.
not like a true cast member or something like
Okay.
that. But nothing as far as like an NDA. I'm trying to think even if there was a time like in the beginning seasons where it's like if you filmed at like Sheena's wedding or like you filmed at a party, like they didn't want you to post it. But as the show went on, I think like the the culture of society is like they want to see a little teaser. They want to know what's going on so they don't forget about it. So
Right.
like we were able to post more often than not without as long as it wasn't like posting direct storyline or if there was a fight between someone because like that's the buildup, obviously.
Right.
So, but no, never. I don't recall ever signing an NDA.
Okay. Well, you did mention that you were really close with Tom and Kristen back when they were dating. Tom was the first person you met. You became close with them both. But during the time that they had broken up and Ariana and Tom had started dating and Kristen had made it sort of her mission to take them down, what was your relationship like with Kristen then? And were you giving her advice about how she was dealing with kind of coming at Tom and Ariana?
Yeah, it was, it was a time. Let me tell you. It was funny because you have to manage people's emotions, and like obviously, I know Kristen was hurt. But on the flip side, Tom was hurt because she started to date James, and James was supposed to be Tom's roommate. And then, you know, some people picked up on this season 3, some people didn't. But James actually moved into my house, and Kristen spent time living in my house as well.
I didn't know
So
that.
yeah, and that's a season where we filmed a lot in that house and then they cut it all. So
Oh,
some people knew, like you could tell like some things and some people didn't. But James actually moved into my house. So I was kind of juggling all worlds and trying to empathize and sympathize with each side of the emotion. Kristen, we would, if she was sitting right next to me right now, we'd probably laugh about this because it was so long ago. But Kristen and I were very close, and she wanted to make sure that I supported her, and I didn't become friends with Ariana. But Ariana and I met, and instantly Ariana and I became like great friends. So it was really a balancing, and like you said, it was like I found myself at times talking to Kristen and saying, like, listen, like, I understand this is how you feel, but you'll be in a happier place if you move on. You already are with someone else, like those kind of conversations. And, Kristen has grown so much. And it's been really awesome to see that over, 13, 14 years almost. So I truly love her. And that time frame was an awkward navigation, but we made it work. So Kristen and I actually did not talk for a while,
oh,
just because at the end of the day, I decided to remove myself from that drama, which, she was expressing it the way she wanted to at the time. But then it was probably about a year and a half. And then she came to me and we chatted and now we're great.
and
So
during that time, were you close with Ariana?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Since the day I met Ariana, we had this like very like best friend type of connection. Like we always text each other. I remember this one time, one of the first times I met her, we were at Sheena hosted a pageant for gosh, I don't even remember what it was. She was a judge um, with Lisa somewhere, but that's kind of where Ariana and I's friendship like really bloomed, and we were sitting in opposite sides of the theater, but we were like texting each other, laughing the whole time, and as we just got to know each other, we just became better friends.
But was there, there was a 3 season probably period of time, seasons maybe 2 to 5, where Kristen and Ariana did not get along. Were you ever asked by either one of them to not be friends with the other? Because that's sort of what was going on the show. Sheena
Yeah,
was, kind of going through the same thing, battling between the two girls and whose
yeah.
side to take. So was that something that you were also experiencing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ariana never asked me that. Kristen did, and we would laugh about it now. Kristen did not want me to be friends with Ariana, which I understand. Um, it just was an interesting scenario, but yeah, Kristen and I had those conversations several times, many times.
But like you said, all water under the bridge now. Those two
Yeah.
girls are very close. So,
Well, it was actually really funny too, and Kristen and I laughed about this a long time ago. Before Kristen and I like fixed it and made it right, she kind of moved in on being friends with Ariana. And I remember like being at dinner once and talking to another one of my friends, and I'm like, the reason Kristen and I aren't friends, and now she's friends. So, it all worked out, and now we all are great friends. So
so funny.
yeah.
Well, we saw a couple of weeks ago online that it looks like Dan opened his own restaurant. It looks like it's called Little More. Can you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about it? Like, do
Yeah.
you know the
So
significance of the name? Can you tell us just like the vibe, where it is? Just tell us everything you know about Little More.
yeah, absolutely. So Little More is in Tribeca.
Hmm.
And, I didn't know what to expect leading up to like friends and family and grand opening. Just because I was like, I kind of want to be surprised. Like Ariana would show me some things, Dan would show me some things. But it's like a bar focus, and it does have bites. He was telling me the other night we were there, he's trying to shave down the menu for
Hmm.
food a little bit just to simplify it, because right now I think they have like 35 items, which is he was feeling was a little heavy because they want to primarily bar focus. But the vibe is amazing. It's totally like how I would decorate a bar too. It's like very dark, but it has like lighting and like colorful like bottles everywhere. I don't know if you saw a picture that I've posted previously, but it's a great space. The cocktails, I have yet to try one that I don't like.
Oh.
And it's funny because I am very specific on what I drink, but
Hmm.
I was like, let me try these just to see what I think. And everything has been absolutely amazing. Ariana and I have been back a couple of times since she was here. But the space again, it's in Tribeca off of West Broadway, and it's amazing. I love it. It's going to become like a Cheers bar for me. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
Has this been an endeavor he's been working on for a while? Like,
Yeah, I know that he has wanted to do this for quite some time. Aside from like Dan does a lot of things, and I think like people probably got a glimpse of like, oh, he's a trainer and like a bartender, but it's like more than that. He has like a very strong personal training private business. And then, it's New York. It's like, he grew up kind of bartending, so it's like why not take in that extra money? And I think like him taking on this endeavor with some partners has been a big focus for us for a long time. He
mhm.
previously had invested in a bar that was doing well that he worked at, and I think this kind of gave him a little bit more ownership over it. So I know he's been really excited, and it's probably been, I don't want to say a long time coming, but it's definitely been in the works.
And do you still spend a lot of time with Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I in the last like couple of weeks, I feel like I've seen him a lot. Dan doesn't actually even live that far away from me. We're like a
Oh,
10-minute walk from each other. So no, we hit some Rangers games, we did some fun stuff like that. And I just was with them. I mean, I was probably with them for 4 days in a row, just hanging out. So yeah.
what do you like about Dan for Ariana?
I like that he puts her first. You know, not to like speak poorly of a past relationship, but
Go for
I
it.
didn't see that very much in the previous relationship. And I feel like that's what initially we all liked, she was the focus, and you got that feeling that he didn't really know the Bravo world. So it's always nice that you can trust someone's intentions.
Right.
But he makes everything about her in a good way,
Mhm.
which again is very opposite of the last relationship
Right,
majority of the time. So,
right,
but he's also really engaging with her friends. I mean, before I actually met Dan, we were Instagram messaging, and Ariana had told me about how she met, and they literally that whole weekend in Mexico. I was supposed to be there, so
right.
I have this like ongoing joke with Dan that if I would have gone, you never would have met her, because Ariana and I would have been in the corner having fun. But so I always joke with him about that. But yeah, it's he treats her really well, and he makes her a priority, and I think that's what's most important.
And what would you say are some qualities that make Ariana a good friend or your best friend?
Oh man, Ariana and I have like just a connection, and which we share with like a couple of our friends in our group that we all are very close. But we all just have this like mentality of like we are who we are and we love each other. So there's no pressure. I think that's like so important in a friendship.
Yes.
It's like no pressure because we can be who we are. We can
Mhm.
like roll out of bed and not even like care what we look like and go eat lunch and like just break down life. I think over the years too, like I've gotten to know her family so well, probably for the last, honestly, like 10, 11 years. I became close with her brother, her mom. Her mom texts me all the time, and we've just built a really like healthy friendship. But Ariana too is very caring. She's very focused on being a good friend. You know what I mean? I think that's like a really great quality that she has. Um, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's hard to like pull those things out, but we've been such good friends for so long that it just seems so natural that I don't even have to think about it. You know what I mean?
It sounds like you both allow yourselves to be completely yourselves around each other,
Yeah.
and
And
that
I think that's the
is
most
everything.
important thing in friendship, you know?
Mhm. I completely
Yeah.
agree. Well,
Yeah.
let's take it back because you did mention a previous relationship, and I am, sort of curious, looking back now, almost 2 years, do you think the public went too hard at Sandoval with Scandoval?
You know, I think even like my thoughts during that time, like I never want to compromise anyone's safety. You know what I mean? But I think people reacted because it was shocking. Like I was on the inside of this, right? Like these were two of my best friends, and to have them go through that, I think at the time I was like, he deserves it, right? But then I think over time, everyone as a collective, we're kind of like, he might not be our friend anymore. However, he is a human being, and like maybe the world should pull back a little bit. I mean, I have never seen a relationship that went through something like this make the news that it did. I
Yeah,
mean, of the reporting that was being done on it, like everyone in the world, even if you didn't know what Vanderpump Rules is, you heard about the cheating, and people were like, well, what is this? And then people would get back in and start watching the show, so it was
right,
kind of crazy. But I think, everyone deserves a little tough because, he messed up and you messed up in the public eye. So, I think looking back on it now, it worked its way out, but you gotta reap what you sow. And if you're in the public eye and you do something not good, you can't expect people to just forget about it. So
right. Well, I'm curious about something. In the season 10 reunion, Sandoval was talking about how no one had kind of reached out to him after the news broke and how there was people he was friends with that were friends with him for as long as Ariana was that didn't at least text him. And I remember Ariana saying, "Nobody's going to text you, nobody's friends with you." Do you think he was referring to you considering you are possibly someone he's been friends with as long as Ariana?
yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I know like in the heat of it all, 3 days after it happened, he did reach out to me, and he said that. He said,
Oh,
you haven't reached out to me. I've known you for X amount of years at that time. And I probably met him right before he met Ariane or at the exact same time. Yeah. So he had that conversation with me in the heat of the moment. I don't like to necessarily like rip someone apart. I told him I was completely disappointed with him. What I thought he did was absolutely awful. I, talked to him about what I would have done if that's the way he was feeling, because there was, in my opinion, so many other ways to go about it. And I kind of just let him know, like, that's it. Like, our friendship isn't a thing anymore. So, hearing that at the reunion, I know that I was definitely lumped into that. Since it's happened, I have, I'm sure you're aware too, like about a month after it happened, like his best friend from growing up passed away.
Right.
And I think almost all of us reached out, and I wasn't to extend an olive branch, but I did want to say, like, you're a human. I'm sorry you're going through this. That guy was a friend of mine as well. I'd known him for a long time. We'd gone on trips together as a group. Like, I knew who that was. And I just said, I think you should make sure you're around people that support you right now. You need to be with family, even if it's just one friend, like, have them stay the night. And I just kind of offered that and let it go. Um, Publicly, I was at the same music festival as him last year, but we didn't talk to each other. Yeah,
Right. Well, there were so many pictures of you and Ariana and Rachel Raquel spending time together throughout the years. Did you have a personal, separate relationship with Raquel where you'd hung out alone?
yeah, absolutely. Raquel and I would go to events together, movies together, dinners together. She met some of my friends that aren't in that realm of the world, the
Hmm.
Bravo world. Um, I mean, Raquel had been around that group many years because of James.
Right.
So we had built a relationship with her as James's girlfriend.
Right.
And then when they broke up, we kind of built a relationship with her as a solo person. So it was very interesting around that time to hear, statements being said like, they're not my friends, I don't hang out with them, this and that. And it's like, I have years of text messages and photos to disregard that statement because it's not true. So
Right. And did you ever end up having like a final breakup conversation with her, or was
no,
that
I
it?
didn't with her. And again, like, I kind of live in the world where, like, Ariana is so important to me. And, at the time, all of them were friends of mine that are important to me. But when one of them intentionally does something to hurt and destroy a person, it's like, I almost don't even think there is a necessary closing conversation. In my
Right.
mind, I'm done. So
Right.
I don't know what that person could say to make me feel better about the situation. But no, we never had a closing conversation. She kind of, I don't want to say went into hiding, but she kind of left LA and went to family. Um, but no, I didn't have a conversation with her.
You mentioned earlier that it was still a loss for you to lose Tom and to lose Rachel, Raquel, whatever you want to call her. How
Yeah.
did you process that for yourself?
At first I didn't. I think I mentioned earlier, my focus was kind of just to make sure she was okay, because that in my mind took priority. And after we got to a really good place where we were feeling like she was feeling good, because I mean, between me, Dana, and Logan, we stayed at her house every single night and slept in bed with her. Not all of us, not all four of us, but we would rotate and just make sure she wasn't alone, that she had someone there. Um, and I think, like, once we got to a place where, like, she was like, "Oh, you know what? I can be alone tonight. I'm feeling good. Like, I'm gonna watch a movie. Like, I don't want to, burden you." And it's like, of course, it's no burden. But once she got to a place where we started to feel like, okay, this is not ending, but she's getting better. Um, I think I started to process it a little bit more. But it's weird because I feel like my personality, I'm super loyal, and, like, it sounds cheesy. Scorpio, I feel, is, like, very loyal to their people,
Hey, yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Once you show me that you took that loyalty away, unless it's something minor, like, that to me was so major that I was kinda like, that's it, Like,
yeah,
I remember the night I found out, because I was supposed to meet them. I was at a movie premiere, and I was supposed to go to Tom Tom, where they
right.
were performing. And I got home to change, and I remember texting Ariana and saying, are they still performing? Are they going to end up at Schwartz and Sandy's? Because Schwartz and Sandy's is like 5 minutes from my house in Hollywood. And I was like, I don't want to take a car to go out there and get in a car and turn right back around if that's where we're going to like after. And she texted me and she's like, I'll call you in 10 minutes. And I was like, okay. So I just like hung around and she called me and told me what happened. And after I got off the phone, like I removed him from my socials and I was like, there's nothing
Done.
to see, you know? So yeah.
I guess, yeah, I guess it is easier to, process something like that for yourself, even if someone is close to you, when you find out they're not the person that you thought they were. I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And for me, it's like I tend to do like out of sight, out of mind. I do better with that. Like
Mhm.
if I'm trying to remove a negative energy or a person from my life, if I just out of sight, out of mind,
Got it.
it doesn't like it's not like they don't go out of your mind immediately. But if, you have to see someone all the time or see what they're doing, it's easier to be out of sight, out of mind for me.
100%. I'm noticing that for myself too.
Yeah.
It's way easier to forget about somebody once you remove them. I
Yeah.
completely agree. Well, you were on the Vile Files last year, and you were talking about how Katie and Lala, for example, weren't part of your inner circle of close friends with Ariana. At that time, would you have considered Sheena part of that inner circle?
Yeah, I think, it was interesting. Looking back on it now, and I remember when I said that, um, Katie had been one of the first ones I'd met too. And I think my relationship with Katie was always interesting because we've talked about this and laughed about it. I felt like I was always on the wrong side of history with Katie because when Katie and Kristen got in a fight, I was there for Kristen. You know what I mean? And in the beginning of the Tom and Katie breakup, I was there supporting Tom and Raquel to a fault at some point. So when I look back at it, like I know Ariana's relationship with her is better than per se mine was at the time. But yeah, Sheena would definitely, I would say she was in that circle. Um, but then that took a turn too. So
Well, where are we today with Sheena? What is your relationship like with her now?
it was interesting because I feel like from last summer to, I mean, just recently, it was a lot less, or it was a lot more removed than it used to be. I mean, Sheena and I used to hang out all the time too. Like we'd throw on sweats and make dinner together, and we'd take trips and do this like all the time. I think it was hard for me to see somebody that loved and valued Ariana so much extend the opportunity for an olive branch with someone that hurt her. For
Hmm.
me, I have a difficult time doing that. And I guess like you can't really fault someone for wanting to see the good in people, but in my brain, I was like, there's no repairing that. So, she's on her own journey. But I think that strained some relationship, obviously, with her friends, with Ariana. And ultimately, like, Sheena didn't do that to Ariana, but I removed myself a little bit because it was uncomfortable. It was an uncomfortable space.
Right.
But we actually went probably Sheena texted me a couple times this summer. She was here for New York once. I couldn't make it to a thing. She texted me on my birthday and she's like, I'm coming back to New York. Like, love to catch up. And I said, you know what, I'd love to catch up. So we actually went to Dan's bar, and it was actually really great to see her. And it was honestly, I feel like it was a very like genuine, real space. We
Hmm.
just were catching up and talking about summer and like her daughter and other things. So it was nice. And I even Ariana and I were talking about it too. And ultimately, like there is a friendship there that always will be there. I think it just in a time where it got awkward, everybody kind of like dissipated a little bit, but I think we can probably bring it back to some degree.
That's definitely been something that we've seen in this friend group time and time again. And it's
Yeah,
something to be admired, to be honest. It really
yeah,
is. To be able to keep coming back to each other, I, I I can't hate it, right? It's a beautiful
yeah,
thing when people can find their way back to each other. It could be over time, it could be after things have passed, but it is a nice thing when people can come back together when they've had such long, extensive friendships. So
for sure.
I hope you guys are able to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Well, we did get word last week, last Tuesday, that Vanderpump Rules is being rebooted with an all-new cast, and the show that we know with its OGs is no more. Were you surprised by this news?
You know, it was like yes, but no. Like I mean, living around this, being involved, it was kind of I feel like it was expected to come. I feel like everybody thought if there was another season, it would be its last with this cast. We all talked about it, and shared our opinions. I mean, my opinion, and that became very public, was Ariana should not go back anyways. So, I was like, move on. You don't need to film with certain people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're, I don't want to say above that, but just so much going for her right now. I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? You got to take care of yourself. So, I think it's not shocking, but also the success of that show, like it doesn't surprise me that they're doing like a reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it's just as successful for the network. I don't know much about the specific reboot, obviously, but I hope it does all for them.
Do you worry about the futures of any of the OG VPR cast members now that the show is over?
I think everybody's kind of on their own path. I think like people hit bumps in the road. I honestly, like back in the day, I got nervous for Kristen. I was like, oh no, what is she gonna do? But she's found her footing again. She's in with Luke. She's gonna have a baby. She's on a new show. I think people will survive. Like I think that they're going to find a new venture or something to keep them going. I mean, I'm not worried about Sheena. She'll be fine. I think she's going to find something soon. You know what I mean? Katie has a sandwich shop and she has a very successful podcast. I think I don't know what the Toms are up to, but I don't know. I saw Schwartz actually when he was here with Kristen for Watch What Happens Live this
Mm-hmm.
summer, and I caught up with him. But he was one of those that's kind of like, well, by association, like I'm never gonna be rude to you in person, and if I
Right.
see you, I'll always say hi, but like the friendship really isn't there anymore. So,
Well, I want to pivot to Lala for a second, and I'm just curious what your relationship was like with her over the years. Did you have a close personal relationship, or was it a little bit more far removed?
you know, Lala was interesting when she first came around. I feel like we never were close like the way Ariana and I are, or some of the other cast members, but we were definitely friends. It's so random. I was actually looking through a photo album the other day on my phone and of a certain year, and I was looking for a certain picture, and I found pictures where like Lala has her like head on my shoulder, and it's just her and I, and like we were friends. I think it just kind of dissipated, not because either of us did anything to each other, but the energy and whatnot, it just didn't really align with like me and Ariana. So like the three of us would never like hang out. We got to a point where we really wouldn't. Yeah.
What do you think of her considering the TV show a job?
Um, it's like a catch 22 in my opinion because the way that I felt that she said it for a long time, even before that was said publicly, it kind of always like rubbed me the wrong way because I thought it was so important that when you're doing a reality show and you want it to be successful, these people need to be really active in their lives. And I think over the course of Vanderpump Rules, I saw people that maybe like got pulled into it and they would last like a season, if even, because they weren't actively in the lives,
Right,
right? So
right.
I think with her, she was such a strong personality that it worked for her, but um, it also is a job to a degree because you have a job, and she did mention this, to put your real authentic self out there.
Hmm.
And like when you decide to live your life on TV, you have to do that. So from a standpoint on that, like verbiage, I get it. But I also felt like there was a treating of like this is a job, and when we wrap, like I don't have to talk to you guys again until we start filming again. And
Right,
I just didn't agree with that.
right. Well, Lala was on Shenanigans last week, Sheena's podcast, and she said that her one regret is not giving Ariana the heads up about what she said at the end of the season 11 reunion, but she doesn't regret what she said. So I was curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Um, Obviously didn't love what she said. I think too, when it happened, there was a lot of comparison. And I always challenged that because cheating is cheating. If someone is cheated on, man or woman, that's not okay. And what happened to Lala or Stassi or Ariana, cheating is cheating, shouldn't happen to anybody. So I feel for each of them as individuals. But I think what was happening was that the comparison of like, I got cheated on and this didn't happen to me, she gets cheated on and this got happened to her, was so different.
Hmm.
And I relate it to the fact that Tom and Ariana grew up in a relationship on the show, outside of him, after him and Kristen. And so the world saw them as a couple year after year after year after year after year. And there wasn't any like funny business with them
Right.
on TV. And I think, in Lala's situation, she was in a relationship with someone and it started negative on camera, and it was like, are you dating a married man, and whether if she was or if she wasn't, all that kind of stuff. And then it like goes into her relationship, and then she finds out essentially what kind of person he is. Again, I feel awful for her, no one should have to go through that, but it's like, in my opinion, it's comparing apples to oranges on the longevity of things and whatnot. So I think, hearing that and hearing the comparison was always like a tough pill to swallow, because I was like, I don't think it's the same. The What was done to you, yes, but I think if Lala was in a 9 or 10 year relationship on TV that went sour, it might not have been the same conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hers technically was like, what, a year or two on TV. So it's a little different.
What do you think Ariana's response would have been if Lala had come to her and said, "Hey, I said all these things about you on camera, just letting you know," which is what her regret is. She says she wished she had done that. How do you think Ariana would have responded to that?
In my opinion, I think, Ariana probably would have said, like, you got to do what you got to do. And if that's how you're feeling, then that's what you should be communicating. Because I think, like, Ariana's a realist. Like, I don't think she would have been like, I can't believe you said that about me. I think she would have said, like, well, that's how you were feeling. So you felt it. So I understand why you said it. Or, not understand why you said it, but to a degree, what I'm saying. But I think she would have just kind of been like, okay, well, if that's what you said, I feel like all of them, in my opinion, kind of adopted that over the course of the years.
Hmm.
I think I remember sitting around and watching like season 3 as it played out, and people are like, oh, I'm about to say something about someone. And like they didn't have those conversations. But then this is people that continuously, year after year after year, filmed with each other. So they would start to be like, hey, I had a conversation and I had to say this about you, just so
Hmm.
you know. And I think like those kind of conversations started to happen. So I think maybe that's why Lala said, like, I probably should have said that, because those conversations did happen,
Hmm.
not necessarily during filming, but after they wrapped, they'd be like, heads up, in 3 episodes, you're not going to like what I say about you.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Brad, I thank you so much for being here. And before I let you go, I'm actually really curious what some of your favorite reality TV shows are.
I've always been a big Love Island fan. It's kind of
Hmm.
like a funny story too. That's how Ariana got into it. So
Right. Tell us the
I
story.
found Love Island. I found Love Island Australia first, started watching it, and I called Ariana and I was like, this show, you've got to watch it. And this was like during COVID too. So she's like, I don't 60 episodes. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm telling you, it won't feel like 60 episodes.
And it
And
doesn't.
I like made it through 3/4 of that season as I was like trying to persuade her. And then finally one day I went over to her house and like we're putting it on, we're ordering food. And like 4 episodes in, she's like, now I know what you're talking about. And so it like spiraled into like we watched every country, every season. So that's been always like a big favorite of ours and mine. I love the Traders.
Mm.
I've actually I'm trying to do some more like hosting things actually. So when I work with my agent, I am looking at getting some gigs like that. But I hosted a press junket for The Traitors season 2, which is why I got to meet like so many of the cast, and it was really
Oh,
funny because I would have never thought in a world. What's his name? Oh, now I just totally lost his name. I can't remember. But Trishelle, it was so funny. The day that I was doing the press junket, she like DM'd me, and I didn't even realize at the time that she had followed me because we'd never communicated before. But she DM'd me and was like, "Oh my god, I just found out you're hosting the press junket. I'm so excited to meet you." She's like, "I've been a fan of you for years," and da 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 da. So it was like really cool, and now
that's
we've
cool.
cultivated like a really fun friendship. Dan was another one. So Dan from The Traders, he went to like high school with Kristen Doty.
Right, right.
So like when he came in for the interview, he's like, "Hey Brad," he's like, "I already know who you are," and it's like, "Oh, okay." It was like really fun. But so those are probably two of my favorite reality shows. I've had a lot of friends on Big Brother and The Bachelor, but I don't have time to watch all these shows that are on every single day. So
Fair enough.
I haven't seen them recently, but yeah, I'm excited to see the new season of Traders, even though,
Same.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
it will. Brad Kearns, thank you so much for being here. Where
Of
can
course.
people follow you if they want to see what you have going on?
Yeah, you can follow me. It's Brad by Brad, or it's called Brad X Brad. But it's called Brad by Brad because it's Brad by my life. So it's
Right.
Brad by Brad. But you can follow me on Instagram. I go through my TikTok phase where I like make a ton of videos and then I delete them all and then I make a ton of videos. So if you want, you can follow me there, but primarily Instagram.
Well, Brad, let's raise our glasses high. This one's for
Yes.
you tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
You bet.
Thank you for listening to I Take Bravo Very Seriously in partnership with Hurrdat Media. You can listen to this show and any other episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch full-length video episodes on Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. You can follow me on Instagram at I Take Bravo Very Seriously and at The Bravo Investigator. You can follow me on TikTok at The Bravo Investigator. If you enjoy the show, please leave a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.